Whoops, error. So let's go ahead and paint opaque drop, so like a blood drop, something like that, using basically the same method. So start out, I'm on a new layer, and I'm going to just make this one a bit more circular. So on the new layer now, I'm going to go ahead and I'll just use the airbrushes this time. But initially I'll turn the opacity up so they feel pretty quick. I will come in and choose kind of a nice mid-tone bloody color. And you want to make sure when you're doing this that you don't be careful picking your reds, because if you pick them to, you don't want to go pink, and you want to stay looking red. Red's a tough color because it can go pink too quick if you're not careful. So a little bit bigger, and pick up this, and it'll be a little bit back and forth, a little bit of just working in the middle. Go a little bit darker, get the top colored in. Now I've done the exact same thing and wrong, so I want to remember that in case of an opaque drop, most of the time your dark side, if you go to your dark side, is going to be, see, that starts going pink, so I don't want to do that. But you want to keep the light side lighter, and the shadow side, because it is opaque, will be darker like that. How much dark you want to go is kind of up to you. And sometimes I will come back in on a drop like this and go ahead and pick, kind of the light side color. I'm going to go a little bit lighter on that. I want to pick the most saturated color to do that. But I will also take a little bit of that color, and I'm going to lower the opacity now down, and just put it on the back as a little bit of reflected light. Sometimes it's good to change the color. If I'm on green, I might put it in a little more yellow like this. Just make it work for you. So get this done to this point, and then put in your highlight. Now you could use the glow, pick the dark, and start a highlight on here, and you'll eventually build up to it, and it'll look good. So I might start that way, but I'll probably just go ahead and go to my brush and just put a little bit highlight in there. Now, funny thing about highlights, if you want something to look really shiny, your highlight needs to be a little small and very crisp. If you want something to look a little more matte, then your whole highlight would be more a bit like this. And do a couple that's on this new layer. You'd have a bigger, softer highlight. And so it can still look shiny, but it doesn't look nearly as shiny as when you just have a small, tiny one. So that will work fine. Let me open this, backspace it, clear it. I'm going to load this selection, so Control, and I'm going to save it. Save selection. New drop. Okay, drop or round drop. And I'm using the same way for now creating the shadow. So on this particular desk here, I'm gonna make the shadow kind of a midway on this particular drop, kind of a midway color. I'm on the new layer, and I'm just going to fill it. Now, unlike the clear drops down here, I'm not going to erase anything out of here or the back of the drop to have a little bit of light shining through, because it's a different kind of animal, and it's not transparent. You won't have really any light shining through. I am, however, going to go ahead and transform this layer, edit, free transform, because I do want it to be a little bit longer and thinner, more for example's sake than anything. I'm going to control turn it so it's, look, I'm looking at my top box, aligning it, and I'm kind of trying to pull it down. Now, actually it'd be best if I moved this to a point, but I'm trying to align this box and that highlight, and that'll work pretty good. Click enter. I'm going to go ahead and move it over just a little bit, and I want it to come nicely off this curve, so I'm going to widen this part of it, and that I think will work pretty good. Now sometimes you may want to do some other kind of blur, so in this case, just because we can, let's do soften and try a motion blur. So what do I want the angle to be? I want the radius to be pretty big, and the angle, I'm just going to have to update it until it looks like it's going in the right direction for me. So you can see it gets a little closer. It looks a little more like it's blurring. And the nice thing is it stays a little sharp up here and blurs a little bit back here. So I'll click OK. I will load this selection again, and with so control, click on the icon, and with this layer active, I am going to backspace that. It'll clear everything off. I'll have to erase a little bit up here. So you can see that's what's left of my shadow, and that's what I want. But I am going to clean up just this sloppy area around here. So I'll raise the opacity and just come in and erase that. And that'll work pretty good, I think. So I'll put this one together. Now this looks, in my opinion, a little too light for a blood drop. It looks more like a gumball. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. Easy fix. Control J is what I've got the keyboard set to, or just duplicate the layer. I'm going to change this one to multiply, and that takes it a whole lot darker and deeper. I probably don't need to go quite that dark, but there we start to get it. And what I will do is take the eraser again and lower it. It's pretty low, so just up in the light area, go ahead and erase out. So I've got kind of the bright edge. I may don't really like that too much, but it's a lot less noticeable now than it was here, and I don't look quite so much like a gumball. So now all you do is click all the layers, and I would group them, name it blood, and then save the file. So there's a blood, there's clear drops, there's blood,